Hello. In this video we will learn about the Great Depression. The Great Depression was a really tough time in history when the world went through a massive economic crisis. Let's imagine a big game of dominoes. Each domino represents a part of the economy, like businesses, banks, and people's jobs and savings. In the 1920s, everything seemed great. The economy was booming, and people were buying and selling a lot. But then, something went wrong. One big domino fell, and it started a chain reaction. The stock market crashed in 1929. Imagine it like a giant tower of blocks tumbling down. That's how fast and devastating it was. Suddenly, the value of stocks, which are like pieces of ownership in companies, plummeted. People who had invested a lot of money in the stock market lost everything. When the stock market crashed, it caused a panic. People were scared they'd lose their jobs, so they stopped spending money on things they didn't absolutely need. That meant businesses weren't making as much money, so they started laying off workers, which made more people worried about their jobs. It was like a downward spiral. Banks were also affected. People who had taken out loans to invest in the stock market couldn't pay them back because they lost everything. So, banks failed, and people lost their savings. Imagine if everyone suddenly couldn't buy toys, and stores had to close because they didn't have enough customers. It was like that but with everything. From cars, to clothes, to food. This economic disaster lasted for years. Families struggled to make ends meet. Many people lost their homes, and had to live in makeshift shelters. It was a really tough time for everyone. The Great Depression showed how interconnected the economy is, and how a problem in one part can affect everything else. It also led to changes in how governments manage economies, to try to prevent such a devastating event from happening again. The Great Depression was a severe economic downturn that lasted from the late 1920s to the early 1940s, affecting countries worldwide. Several factors contributed to its onset and severity. Stock market crash of 1929. The most famous event associated with the start of the Great Depression is the Wall Street crash of 1929. Stock prices collapsed, wiping out billions of dollars in wealth, and triggering a panic among investors. This event shattered confidence in the economy, and set off a chain reaction of economic decline. Overspeculation and excessive borrowing. In the years leading up to the crash, there was rampant speculation in the stock market. Many investors were buying stocks on margin, which means they borrowed money to invest, hoping to make quick profits. When stock prices fell, investors couldn't repay their loans, leading to massive losses, and bank failures. Bank failures. As the stock market crashed, banks suffered significant losses because they had invested depositors' money in stocks. Additionally, the widespread bank runs occurred, where panicked depositors rushed to withdraw their savings, causing many banks to collapse. The failure of so many banks led to a severe contraction in credit, further worsening the economic situation. Protectionist trade policies. After the stock market crash, many countries implemented protectionist trade policies, such as high tariffs, in an attempt to protect domestic industries and jobs. However, these policies backfired, leading to a reduction in international trade, and exacerbating the global economic downturn. Decline in consumer spending. The collapse of the stock market and widespread unemployment caused consumer confidence to plummet. People stopped spending money on non-essential goods and services, leading to a decline in demand, business closures, and further job losses. Drought and agricultural crisis. In the early 1930s, the United States experienced severe drought conditions, leading to the Dust Bowl phenomenon in the Great Plains region. This agricultural crisis devastated farmers, many of whom lost their land and livelihoods, exacerbating the economic hardship faced by rural communities. Government policies. Initially, governments responded inadequately to the economic crisis, exacerbating its severity. For example, the Federal Reserve failed to take sufficient action to prevent bank failures and the contraction of the money supply. Additionally, fiscal policies were often contractionary, as governments prioritized balanced budgets over economic stimulus. These factors combined to create a perfect storm of economic instability, leading to the worst economic downturn in modern history. The Great Depression had far-reaching social, political, and economic consequences, fundamentally reshaping societies, and leading to the adoption of new economic policies aimed at preventing similar crises in the future.